Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight in to demystify the core architectural differences, the actual real-world costs, and the increasingly strict compliance realities of the top AI coding agents in 2026. If you're a developer or maybe a team lead trying to navigate this incredibly crowded AI tooling space, you are in the exact right place. You know, everyone assumes they're only dropping $20 a month for their favorite AI assistant. Sounds like a steal, right? But is that tool actually draining your productivity through hidden throttling, constant context switching, and silent rate limits? Well, we're going to find out. So, here is our agenda for this explainer. 1. The hidden cost of agents. 2. Delegation versus workflow orchestration. 3. The big three agent showdown. 4. Designing the user interface. 5. The 2026 EU compliance deadline. And finally, 6. Choosing your AI coding stack. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the hidden cost of agents. If you're a power user, like actually coding for more than 6 hours a day, you're probably looking at a true monthly cost closer to $200. Seriously, while every tool markets that flashy $20 entry point, heavy usage requires upgrading to tiers like Claude Code Max or Cursor Ultra just to avoid being heavily throttled. At a high level of output, the cheaper tiers simply stop working effectively. And honestly, the productivity you lose just waiting for slow models costs way more than simply paying the upgrade fee.
Let's look at why. The hidden usage limits on those standard Pro tiers kick in absolutely hard. Take Cursor Pro, for example. It gives you 500 fast requests, which sounds great, but a power user exhausts that in just 2 weeks. Claude Code Pro will actually throttle its super powerful Sonnet for a 0.6 model during peak hours. And Codex, it unfortunately shares its limits with your general ChatGPT Plus account. If you're relying on these tools to get your job done, you're gonna need those max tiers to maintain your flow state.
And honestly, this is exactly why the whole bring your own key or BYOK API setup is kind of a false economy. I mean, it sounds cheaper to just pay for what you use, right? But heavy agent usage, especially when you have parallel subagents doing complex refactoring, can easily blow past $100 a month. Plus, you're adding this severe cognitive tax of managing API keys, checking billing alerts, and constant context switching. A flat-rate subscription just ends up being cheaper and way less stressful. Moving right along to Section 2, delegation versus workflow orchestration. So we're shifting away from basic coding assistants that just auto-complete your text to fully autonomous agents. But, and this is key, they aren't all built the same way. OpenAI's Codex is the perfect example of what we call a delegated engineering agent. Think of it like a junior developer. You give it a tightly scoped task, it utilizes the GPT 5.5 model to read your codebase, edits the files autonomously, and then returns a reviewable output, like a standard pull request, directly into your existing GitHub workflow. It's very task-centric, relying entirely on you to set clear boundaries. But on the flip side, we have something like Google Anti-Gravity. This functions as an agent orchestration environment running on Gemini 3.5 Flash. Instead of just handing a single task to one agent, Anti-Gravity acts more like a control room. You essentially sit back as a mission controller, managing up to 5 parallel agents that are working across your code editor, running terminal commands, and even visually verifying UI in a Chromium browser. It's a completely different philosophy. So what does this all mean for you? It boils down to a massive architectural divide. Ask yourself, do you need task-centric help that naturally extends your existing pull requests and CI/CD pipelines? Or are you looking for an environment-centric workspace designed for full-stack prototype verification where the AI is actually checking its own work in a browser? Okay, let's put all this theory to the test in Section 3, the Big Three Agent Showdown. To actually show you how this plays out, developers fed Claude, Codex, and Anti-Gravity the exact same real-world prompt. They told the agents, design a basic Node.js email routing architecture using Google OAuth. Include an ingestion endpoint, routing logic, and a queue. Crucially, they asked the agents to wire the whole thing up and push it to GitHub totally autonomously. And the results? Honestly, they were incredibly revealing. Claude Code delivered the only fully working real-world Gmail ingestion pipeline. Codex went a different route, producing a pristine, enterprise-grade skeleton with highly secure HMX-signed OAuth state protection. And Anti-Gravity? Well, it built a beautiful, dynamic routing dashboard with wildcard support, but it massively overscoped the task, hilariously crashed twice on launch, and delivered a shockingly low 37% TypeScript coverage. What this really proves is that these tools have fundamentally different personalities hardwired right into them. Claude Code is your pragmatic engineer, highly focused on just getting the core repository working. Codex is the security architect, prioritizing enterprise-grade safety and strict Zod schema validation, way above just getting a demo out the door. And Antigravity? It's the ambitious prototype builder. It absolutely wants to give you a full-stack dashboard immediately, even if it has to sacrifice type safety and stability to get you there. Let's pivot a bit and talk about the front end in Section 4, designing the user interface. Because building a UI means dealing with all sorts of messy edge cases, and not just creating something that looks good statically, it requires a totally different approach than backend routing. You absolutely must rely on a repeatable UI build loop. You have to force the agent to move sequentially. Plan the components first, then build the code. Explicitly add crucial states like loading and error screens, and finally verify that behavior in the browser. If you let the AI skip these steps, it's notorious for just inventing components out of thin air. To stop those wild hallucinations, you've got to enforce what's called a strict UI contract JSON safety mindset. Basically, you must force the agent in your prompts to guarantee state coverage and run accessibility checklists before it's even allowed to return the code to you. Make it provide a summary of what changed and why. Demand tiny tests or visual before and after screenshots. You really have to treat the agent like an intern who needs very strict guidelines to stay on the rails. Now for something absolutely crucial. Section 5. The 2026 EU compliance deadline. The global regulatory landscape is shifting fast. We're moving way beyond just developer convenience into strict enterprise legality. The EU AI Act, which was enacted back in August 2024, is bringing massive changes to software engineering. We are currently right in the middle of the evaluation phase for agent compliance artifacts, but it is all culminating in the super strict August 2026 compliance deadline. If you have any customers or operations in the EU, the clock is ticking loudly right now. And this forces a really uncomfortable question. Who is actually liable when an AI writes bad code inside a high-risk system? Well, under the EU AI Act, those obligations flow directly through to the organization deploying the system. That's you. This means your team must prioritize tools that automatically produce legal compliance artifacts, clear audit trails, and human-in-the-loop technical documentation. It's not just about generating fast code anymore. It's about proving exactly how that code was written and verified. All right, let's bring it all together in Section 6, choosing your AI coding stock. Now that we've got the full picture on costs, architectures, and legality, let's match you with your ideal stack based on how you actually work. If you're a solo founder, you're going to want Claude Code Max. Its full repo context essentially lets it act as your technical co-founder. If you're an enterprise lead sweating over that EU compliance we just talked about, you absolutely need GitHub Copilot's enterprise tier for its IP indemnity and strict audit logging. Professional team developers, you'll do best with Copilot or Cursor Pro for seamless workflow integration. And hey, if you're a budget-conscious learner, you can totally thrive by just combining the Gemini CLI and Windsurf to take advantage of their incredibly generous free tiers. To leave you with a final thought on this explainer, the days of developers manually typing out every single line of code are coming to an end. Are you ready to step up, protect the architecture of your systems, and become a true supervisor of intelligent workflows? The tools are already here, but the engineering judgment, that's still completely up to you. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.